By now, Alaoma was known across the district. She was a nurse, a midwife, a herbalist, a woman summoned when life hovered uncertain at the threshold. But her name had begun to appear elsewhere, in reports, journals, government memos, flattening into something unrecognizable. Not Alama the healer, but native midwife number 12, trained under colonial supervision. Her voice, her meaning was slipping away in ink. She sat in the corner of the dispensary, reading a report drafted by a young colonial assistant, his handwriting neat and confident. Local midwives continued to rely on unproven rituals, including singing and the burning of leaves during delivery. The subject displayed emotional attachment to herbs, though efficacy remains questionable. She read it twice. Subject, unproven, emotional. The same practices that had steadied hemorrhaging bodies and called breath back into newborn lungs were being catalogued as curiosities, footnotes to someone else's authority. Abebe's voice returned to her, quiet and prophetic. If they cannot understand your language, they will remain your truth. That night, Alaoma tore a page from the report and wrote her own note on the back. Ewe Yure, to guide blood flow. Ewe Akoko, for uterine recovery. Song, Omoawaye. Translation, to call the child home. Her handwriting wavered, half Yoruba, half English, as though she was trying to stitch together two words that refused to align. Weeks later, a visiting anthropologist arrived from London to document women's birthing songs. He carried a tape recorder the size of a boat and spoke through an interpreter who softened his questions and sharpened her answers. Madam Alaoma, he asked, can you explain what these chants mean scientifically? She smiled, politely, faintly. They mean life, she said. They mean memory. He adjusted his spectacles. But what do they do? They call the spirit back into the body, she replied. They remind the woman she's not alone. Later, when the article was published, she found herself used again. Subjects believe songs possess medical potency, likely psychological comfort in the women. She laughed, not with humor, but with grief. You cannot translate the divine. She whispered into the empty room. You can only listen. In the archives of Ibadan, the first official list of registered midwives was released. Alaoma searched for the names of the women she had trained, over 40 of them. Women who had caught babies with steady hands. Women who had buried mothers with care when loss could not be undone. She found none. The list included only those with missionary certificates. At the bottom of the page, in small apologetic print, traditional attendants excluded for lack of formal credentials. A heart rose in her chest, not for herself but for Baby, Marka and Kirka, women whose hands had better generations, but whose work would never be indexed, never footnoted. That night, she gathered the young nurses and said, if they will not write our names, we will write our own, not on paper, but on the tongues of our daughters. From then on, Alaoma taught differently. Alongside anatomy, she taught memory. Alongside measurement, she taught meaning. You will learn where the womb sits, she told them, but also where the spirit breathes. You will learn how to count heartbeats, but also how to count blessings. They sang softly as they walked, disguising chants as mnemonics for medical procedures. The doctors dismissed them as harmless repetitions. Women knew better. Repeat after me, Alaoma said quietly. Iwe Akoko, the leaf that comforts the mother. Akon, the oil that seals her strength. Song, the medicine that cannot be measured. And so, through whisper and repetition, a new archive was born. Not bound in leather, not shelved in libraries, but carried in breath, rhythm, and practice. Every empire that tried to silence women forgot one thing. Stories are seeds. Even when buried, they bloom again, in song, in tongue, in daughters' hands. The The archives wrote her name in error. The people wrote it in song. And so, Alaoma lived, not in translation, but in remembrance.